Let's move on with the next part of that webinar. And if you see here, there is one topic named visualization, projection, and shared stage. And I can tell you, together with the emotions, this part, visualization, projection, and shared stage, is the most important of today's webinar. Because that allows, especially the shared stage, doing very complex telepathic communication, which is very important when we start to exchange scientific and intercultural information with scientists and engineers and artists, with the ETs, within a very short time. And you might know that some of you have many years of spiritual development and meditation and this kind of things. But what is changing now is because we are in the most important time of history of mankind, if you like. We are just before meeting our brothers and sisters from the stars, that we do not have time to educate scientists and engineers 5, 6, 7, 8 years until they can start to communicate. So that is the reason we have been educated by the ETs, if you like, to develop exercises and concepts so that they can start communication in a very short time. And what we have learned is that during our events, that even scientists with a very little spiritual background are able to do complex scientific exchange of information within 2.5 days. And one of the concepts we use is then the shared stage, and I will cover that now a little bit more in detail. So this visualization, projection, shared stage is basically also located in the right hemisphere, as shown here by marking picture and imagination, right? So for that explanation, I use an example using a person. In this case, it's Angelina. And if you look to that image here, Angelina is doing the same as you before in that exercise with a rose. She visualizes some roses in a flower vase. As I mentioned, visualization moves the attention to the right hemisphere. And if you are in the right hemisphere, you are not in the left, where the mind is active and controlling and assessing and organizing. That's very important that we use exercises allowing us to focus very strongly to the right hemisphere, and visualization is one of those concepts. Now we come to something more stronger than visualization, that is projection. In that example, Angelina is projecting herself, which is also a visualization. But if you do this exercise, you will recognize that is much more stronger focus than in the right hemisphere using projection. Now we come to the shared stage. If you look to that image, you see that Angelina is standing in a living room, if you like. But that living room, with Angelina standing in the center of the living room, is a projection she generates. Therefore, it is a very strong movement of the attention to the right hemisphere. And you see that living room she generates in her right hemisphere is quite complex, right? And now it becomes very important. Your dialogue partner is able to perceive your stage. that is the most important, basically, of all. Your dialogue partner is able to see what you visualize or project. And furthermore, your dialogue partner is able to interact with your stage. As in that example, that ET lady is now walking into that living room and is standing in front of Angelina and put a big gem on the floor of that living room. You understand what is happening. If you create a stage, then your dialogue partner is seeing that stage and can interact with that stage. And actually what you are doing is you create a reality. And that is something which is extremely powerful during telepathic communication, because, for example, your dialogue partner is also able to create a stage, right? And more than that, your dialogue partner is able to exchange the stage you have created with the stage he or she would like to use as a stage. In this case, that ET lady changed then the stage of the living room Angelina created or generated, and the ET lady showed her stage, which is an actual view out of a spaceship to Earth. So this interaction and changing of stages can be very complex and powerful, like a movie. And that can be used for scientists and engineers and artists, for example, using this kind of concept, and that this works well. I can tell you, based on our experiences we had. This is a board, a whiteboard, if you like, and Angelina, representing then a scientist, for example, or engineer, can write down questions apart, for example, of a theoretical model, and ask a question whether this formula, for example, is correct or not from the view of the ET scientist. And because the ET scientist can perceive the stage and the whiteboard and the question and the intention behind, he can answer this question by changing again that part of the stage, which is the answer on the whiteboard. So because that is an interaction and both share the same information, the same complex stage, the scientist, the human scientist, can read the answer, and because of that its intention, they can now start to exchange information using a whiteboard. That is something I would like to recommend to you to use during the scientific or intercultural information with scientists. I had a physicist, for example, who used that after the first day of a telepathic communication event, a whiteboard in his office in the university, writing down a part of his model, and he immediately received the answer by the ET. You see how powerful telepathic communication is, because it is intention-based. Even extraterrestrial civilizations do have their own language, like humans have, but the common platform of communication for this kind of exchange of information is telepathic communication, which is very powerful. And as I said, the stages can be very, very complex. It depends on you. It depends on your dialogue partner. And you even can travel with a spaceship during a telepathic communication because of this kind of concept with the shared stage, where the ETs change the stage and show you something, the surface of the planet they exist, and this kind of things. But it can be as simple as this meadow here at the bottom. And the reason we use a lot of times a meadow for this kind of stage is, and we will use that at the end during the conversation with the ETs, is because Meadow has a very positive emotion. That is very important, that we have this emotional state, this positive emotional state, and it is known even by children, a Meadow, right? So we use this kind of stage very often, but we have also participants who like different stages. So please let them choose their own favorite stages then, and all stages work, right? Now we come to something which is asked very, very often, and that concerns basically three major topics. One is this aspect, how do I start communication, telepathic communication? I have no idea to do this. That we will cover for a moment. Then the big challenge is I have doubts whether that is fantasy I have received or not. Is that a truthful information or not? We will cover that as well. And then one big challenge is fear. So we will cover that as well. First of all, what you can use, and I know that, for example, the wonderful people from JCT or ECT and so on, they all have a lot of experiences in meditation, how to do that. Please follow your procedure as you did in the past. What we would like to show you is some very simple exercises, even people doing the telepathic communication for the first time can use, right? So we have basically those 7 steps. The first step is get into a light alpha state. And I can tell you, it is not necessary to go into a deeper meditation state. You also can do telepathic communication in a restaurant. I did that many, many times, even with people never did telepathic communication before, with background noises, with this kind of things. You do not need a deep meditation state. And that is much more important that you have this step 2 and 3 in a focus. That is our experience, okay? The positive emotional mood is key, because that raises or lowers the consciousness, or helps to raise the consciousness, and the creation of an individual stage is very important. And then how do you reach the dialogue partner is very simple. You just focus your intention on your dialogue partner. Even it's a single molecule, you can focus on that single oxygen molecule, for example. That is not complicated at all. And we will learn that in the 3 exercises, which we will run in a minute. But then we have step 5 and 7. That is something very important if we start to communicate telepathically. That is the respectful communication. The opening of the dialogue and the closing, the respectful, is very important. Even we talk to a free energy device, to an object, to a molecule or single atom, it is important that we have that positive, love-based, respectful mood and state. That is key. And that is the reason we are working a lot with plants, because plants, they react very strongly on disrespect, for example. But I will cover that a little bit later. So get into a light alpha state is very easy, as we have seen with that rose exercise, right? You shouldn't be in a hurry. That is one very important thing. And you should always have a pen and paper available for making notes. This is a very raw procedure you can use. I will not go into the details, just for your backup in the slide set. And as I mentioned to you, this beautiful, cute pictures, if you remember one of those beautiful situations, cute situations in your life, or even one of those pictures, this raises the emotion because it's so wonderful and beautiful, right? And now we come to that individual stage. The only limitation is your creativity to create a stage. Everything is possible. You are a creator, basically, and all what you visualize and project, and you have that positive emotion, you create as a reality. And I can tell you, if you create a stage, for example, talking to deceased people, to people who have died, and you create a very beautiful environment like a sunny beach, and the deceased father, mother, brother, friend comes and talk to you, there might be, and that happens a lot of times, that after you have finished your conversation, that deceased friend or brother or sister may ask you whether they can stay longer after the conversation on that stage, enjoying the beach and the sun. Even sometimes they have a surfboard and they use the stage you have created because it is just another reality. And that is something I would really recommend, to be creative in and using stages. And what we will use, for example, when we talk to our plant, to our favorite plant, you even can project yourself as an animal, like here in that case, like a butterfly. Then if you focus on the plant, in that case is your dialogue partner, the plant, the focus should be supported by a loving attention, like you give your dialogue partner a lovely hug. That is something you should always remember. That loving attention, that open heart is very important. And then the respectful opening means basically that you ask whether it is allowed to communicate. And even it's a flower or an object, you could be and should be respectful. If you, for example, in that case, you tell the name and whether it's allowed to communicate, you would be very pleased if you can ask a question. Then you will get the response. And then you communicate. And then you say goodbye. And then the dialogue will be closed in a respectful way, in a very friendly way. That is basically the whole concept. And what we are doing now is we do our first exercise, right? And what we will do now here is we will communicate with our body cells. And I will lead you through that exercise. And that is an exercise I really recommend to do that in addition to the telepathy events, if you prepare your participants for the contact with the ETs. And just let's start with that exercise. I will lead you through, and then we will have a look what the result will be. Please sit upright in a relaxed position and close your eyes. Breathe slowly and evenly. In and out. You feel wonderful. Focus your attention on your muscles. Relax if necessary your muscles and breathe slowly and evenly. You feel that wonderful ambient. You feel good and you smile. You feel so good that you now step out of your body. You turn around and look to yourself. That what you see is beautiful. So you smile. You feel the love for yourself. And the love is so strong that you come close to yourself and you give you a hug. Embrace yourself. Love yourself and feel that wonderful emotion. And ask the following question. Dear body cells, what can I do for you to make you happy? The first which comes into your mind, please remember and open your eyes. So that is the first exercise, and I will tell you something. Very important is that during a telepathic communication, you remember the first thing which comes into your mind. Even it makes no sense for the first time or at the first glance. Make a note. And the question you have asked is very important. Because you asked, what can I do for you to make you happy? And that possibly you have received an answer. It is very important that you follow up this answer of your body cells. Because if you received something what is needed to make your body cells happy, then this also means something is not in balance, right? And because you ask that and you receive an answer, you can, at a very early stage, work together with your body to come into harmony and balance, right? Therefore, I really recommend also your participants during the telepathy events to follow up. And I can tell you from my own experience, even participants who have a very strong focus on this kind of exercises, they forgot the next day what their body cells told them. What happened if there is no answer? That is also sometimes the case. That means that at this very moment, there is nothing to tell by the body cells. So just leave it as it is. And you can ask this on a daily basis or 2 daily basis, as I do every 2-3 days. I ask, is everything okay? What do you need? And they jump in and tell me, you need more magnesium, or no, all is fine. We sing a song for you, or this kind of things is happening. That is, if you remember in that chart showing the activities of telepathy centers, the aspect be in harmony with yourself. That is telepathic communication you can use then for this approach. Okay. Now we make another exercise, and it is now the mind we are asking. And I kindly ask you again to sit up in a relaxed position. Close your eyes and breathe slowly and evenly. Again, focus on your muscles around your shoulders, your neck, for example. Relax your muscles if necessary. And breathe slowly and evenly. You feel wonderful. It is such a wonderful ambient. You feel relaxed and you smile. Again, You step out of your body, you turn around and look to yourself. That is such a beautiful being you look to. You smile and you feel the love for yourself. You go back and give you a hug. And you say thank you to your body cells, expressing the deep love out from your heart for your body cells. You smile and you ask, dear mind, what can I do for you to make you happy? Again, the first which comes into your mind, please remember, open your mind and make a note. So again, if you have received something, then that's very important because you asked what makes you happy. If he needs a mind something which makes him happy, so you should do that because otherwise he is unhappy, which means you are not in harmony, not in balance, which is very important for telepathic communication. But it can also be that there is no answer at all. And that is something which happens a little bit more often than with the body cells, because if you start for the first time talking to your mind, the mind as a thought form which has consciousness, its own consciousness, is sometimes very surprised that you now start to communicate with your mind. And you might know some of the spiritual people who are trying to control the mind to get the silence, the inner silence, and might say, dear mind, go into the corner, shut up, and this kind of possibilities. What you are doing by this kind of approach is separation, because the mind is a part of you. It's an inner aspect. So if you say, please shut up and go into the corner, for example, you do a kind of separation instead of integration. And what our experience is, if this starts to the communication with mind and other inner aspects to integrate, that many tears drops during this kind of exercises for participants when doing for the first time. So that is something I really also recommend, because mind is extremely important. We will see a little bit later when it comes to telepathic communication. And now we extend this exercise we just did a little bit. And as I mentioned, what we should work on is to integrate our inner aspects, and mind as a thought form with its own consciousness should be integrated, which leads then to harmony and peace, inner harmony and peace. And because we have the right hemisphere where we are more and more focusing during telepathic communication, and then the other side, the left hemisphere, which did a great job up to now and is still doing a great job, but from another perspective, which means I control, I organize, I assess, I have my doubts because of my experience. That is the left hemisphere. We need to have our mind on board for telepathic communication, right? And that we can see as a kind of new adventure doing telepathic communication, because it's independent of time and space. We might have experiences which do not fit in our current view of the world, where the mind might come into really big challenges to understand that what is happening. We need to have his commitment to be a friend and partner during this new adventure. And we ask him whether he would like to support us in discovering telepathic communication. That is the question. I would like to have deep from my heart, dear mind, that you are a friend and partner, supporting and helping me, and together with me discover telepathic communication. That is the question now, which is a closed question, which results in a yes or no. Okay? So for this, again, I kindly ask you to sit in an upright position and close your eyes. We focus on our relaxed feeling, on our muscles who are relaxed, and breathe slowly and evenly. In and out. We are now more and more relaxed, and we feel that joy in our heart. This wonderful ambient, and we smile because we are looking forward to the conversation now with our mind. We smile and step outward, out of our body. We turn around and look to ourselves. We smile because of such a beauty. And we say, thank you, dear mind, for telling me what you make happy. And now you ask your question whether he will be your friend and partner in discovering telepathic communication, and you are looking forward to that partnership. Yes and no. The first which comes in your mind, yes or no, please remember. Open your eyes and make a note. So what could happen is the following. The mind could give no answer, no response at all. It could be a yes, it could be a no, it could be a yes, but it could be an emotion you receive. So total different things can happen with the mind. Because you are the leader of that new adventure, please respect the answer in the one or other way, even it's a no. You go and follow the path with love and respect. And give the mind, in that case, give it the mind enough room to begin to understand what is happening. So based on our experiences, out of 100, 1 or 2 participants would receive this kind of an answer. But if you receive a strong yes, for example, that is a very important answer, because then you can touch the other challenges. Some scientists and engineers, I can tell you that they have that a lot of time. That challenge is doubt. And I will explain a little bit later where doubt is coming from. And we will have now a quick poll regarding or concerning the last question, whether the mind is your partner or not. And just what I can tell you for the one participant, no answer at all, that is something which happens from time to time. That is basically the case when mind for the first time is asked and respected in that way. He's, if you like, sometimes confused about that new partnership, but that will dissolve within the next communication. So, and I'm not sure that is okay. because that there might be very little responses, emotional wise or whatever, and you cannot handle this. And one of the reasons you can answer, I'm not sure, is if you have doubts. But that is something we will cover in a second. So most of you have received a yes, which is wonderful. But even if you would receive a no, that is nothing difficult. But we do not have. Okay, we have one participant a no, but that is very good. That is very good. And I will tell you one of the possible reasons, or two of the possible reasons. There might be a reason where your mind is protecting you based on experiences coming from other incarnations, where you have used telepathic communication, and the result was bad for you in that incarnation. So sometimes he protects you, and therefore there could be a no. But very often we have a mind, a very strong mind, for example, who has fear to lose control, and he is not longer needed. And that can happen, I can tell you, with many of your inner aspects, and you have thousands of them, even you are not aware of this, who have fear to die because of that spiritual path you are walking, and they fight against that death. The answer is always the same. That is the love you carry in your heart. And if you start to communicate to your inner aspects, including the mind, that is something new, and you would like to have this inner aspect in the boat instead of dismiss him, that step by step gives a better emotion to this special thought form. It is very important to understand that we are have many thought forms with own consciousness. I will come back to that a little bit later.